A lot of people are always reaching out or commenting, asking questions about Blackmagic products and what do I recommend, what are my thoughts on the latest updates, and so on. And since it's the beginning of a new year, I thought it'd be fun to look at what Blackmagic accomplished in 2024. Did they deliver on those promises? What's to come? What products do I recommend? And overall, what's the state of Blackmagic going into 2025? Let's dive in. Small little asterisks here just to save some of you some time. I only talk about the production and software side of Blackmagic. If you're here for broadcast and live streaming, unfortunately, this isn't really the place. I'm not going to be talking about those physical hardware and software products. But if you're sticking around and you enjoy Blackmagic content, I do a lot of it, so make sure you're subscribed. All right, before we dive into each and every product, I want to talk about slashing prices. What did they do in 2024? Because that's something Blackmagic is kind of known for. I mean, the original Ursa 12K was like $12,000 when it first came out. And then a couple years after its initial release, one day we all woke up and they just halved the price. And now it's, $6,000. So what did they slash prices in 2024? Well, we saw the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K have a price reduction of 40%. The Video Assist line, each model got a $200 price cut. On the software side of things, Blackmagic Cloud storage really came up in about last year, and it used to be $30 per terabyte, which was quite expensive compared to the competition. But towards the end of the year, they cut it by 50%. So now it's $15 per terabyte. And finally, right before year's end, we saw the Blackmagic Pocket 4K get a $300 price cut. And this brings that cinema camera to just under $1,000. So let's start going through some products here. And I'm going to start off with the Video Assist line. Now, I haven't had the Video Assist in quite a number of years. I had the first generation kind of go around of it. For those of you who are wondering if you should buy this as just a general monitor, keep in mind that this is primarily intended to be a video assist device. And what does that mean? It's meant to be an extra recorder and either give you kind of redundancy in recording if you're on a Blackmagic camera, or bring a lot more functionality to a lot of mirrorless cameras. So you may have seen some Lumix cameras, maybe Canon. Some random cameras out there have gained the ability to support B-RAW. If we go to the tech spec page, we can see that this adds a couple mini XLR ports. You get SDI, so you may not have SDI on your mirrorless camera, but this could add that functionality. And you have dual SD card slots, so you can record proxies, you record B-RAW if the camera supports it. You have the 5-inch version and the 7-inch, and both of them come in a 3G or 12G SDI option. 3G SDI outputs up to 1080p if you need to output a 4K image for, again, broadcasting, live streaming, anything like that. You'll want to go the 12G option. I also believe the 12G option is brighter, or I think 2500 nits. No, okay, that's right. Yeah. So the 3G option is also only 310 nits. Wow, that's way dimmer than I thought. And the price points, I mean, it's on the expensive end for a small on-camera monitor for sure. But again, if you're looking for that extra functionality, it's there. Talking about software, DaVinci Resolve, I think you guys know what I'm going to say about this one. Of course, I think it's worth it. I mean, the free version gets you so much of the features that the paid version has. A lot of people are always asking me what's the difference between the two, but you're actually paying for GPU acceleration. Say you have a really powerful Mac with a great graphics card or a custom PC with an awesome graphics card. If you download the free version of Resolve, it's not going to take advantage of all the GPU power that you have. And that's why if you pay for the studio version, you get things like noise reduction, some of the AI masking tools. A lot of the newer tools that greatly stress the performance of the computer need that GPU acceleration. So that's why those features are kind of locked to the studio version. But I really recommend, if you're contemplating buying the studio version, if you have a little wiggle room in your budget, because this is a one-time purchase, you'll have it forever. I really would take a look at some of the products that they have. Obviously, we'll look at cameras in a bit, but even just looking down here, the DaVinci Resolve kind of panels that you can enjoy or use here. For example, the speed editor, which I have right here, I've been using it the past couple of years. It's great. I will say the only buttons I actually use on it, because I don't do much multicam or anything, is honestly, I think this jog wheel is worth the $300 alone. If you know, you know, because there's nothing else like this out there. It's essentially only $100 more than what a DaVinci Resolve Studio license is. So the way I look at it is like you basically buy this and get Resolve for free, or you buy Resolve Studio and get this for $100. Now, what's weird in Blackmagic, I don't know if this is just like kind of a, I don't know, an oversight sort of thing, but I am surprised that the new micro color panel also doesn't come with a license. I'm doing a whole video on it soon, so I'm not going to go too into it right now, but it's great. It definitely has a couple things that make it feel a little less than the previous micro panel, but it's also like half the cost. I'm pretty sure that one was still like, I don't know, 800 or 1,000. Definitely wasn't at the $500 price point. If you're looking for an entry-level color panel, this definitely does the job. It's great. It's battery life, has a little tray here so you can stick an iPad Pro in, which is pretty cool. So this I really have been loving from a kind of amateur colors perspective. Now, before we jump into cloud storage, and there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about here, I want to quickly give a shout out to today's sponsor, Artlist. So sometimes you're in a New Year's sort of creative rut where you have this whole past year of awesome footage or projects you've worked on, but it's just hard to get into that 2025 flow. If you're finding yourself in a rut right now, go through these steps with me and let's get you geared up and ready to go for this year. First thing you're going to do, of course, is go to artlist.com and we're going to find a track. And the highlight feature makes it super easy to get kind of the best vibes of each song so you can preview it really fast. And once you've picked out your track, you're going to go ahead and pop that onto a timeline, grab a bunch of random footage. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a sequence or just a montage of random clips that you shot. Yeah, trust the process here. Once you've laid out your footage, you're now going to add some sound effects because this is going to greatly enhance the overall video. In addition to the music tracks, Artlist makes it super easy to find cinematic and sound effects that are going to fit every type of project. And if you're someone who struggles to color grade or you just want to try out some new styles for this year, check out their brand new LUT section with all sorts of different types of warm, cool tones. They got everything in there. And a real hidden secret of Artlist is their hub. This is where you can actually install plugins into your favorite NLEs. You got DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Premiere, whatever you're choosing. You can check out their latest in professional effects to easily add to this project. And now you're at the finish line. You don't even have to export this project if you don't want to. The most important thing is you've taken a step to get out of your creative rut. Huge shout out to Artlist for sponsoring this video and for helping all of us creatives kind of get back to it. Also, if that all wasn't enough for you, this year they're going big and launching a lot of tools with generative AI text to video. So you'll actually be able to generate your own video assets, adjusting styles. And they're also introducing artboards, a collaborative way to share and manage all your assets. So all that's coming this year. So yeah, huge shout out to Artlist for sponsoring that portion of this video. But now we talk Blackmagic Cloud and network storage. So again, kind of split into two different categories. We have Blackmagic Cloud first, which is more software based. This one I highly recommend to everyone. And the important thing to note here is that when you start up Resolve, so when you bring up all your different projects here, you will have both local at the top and cloud. And the reason I recommend everyone does cloud is one, it's $5 a month if you're doing any of this remotely professional freelancing, content creation. It is incredibly worth it for a number of reasons. One, if you have multiple computers, if you're collaborating with people, it makes sharing these projects extremely easy. Even if you want to pay for no storage space and you only want to pay for that $5 a month for a single database, this allows me to, like when I got that Asus laptop and was doing the NVIDIA video a couple weeks back, I was able to just download DaVinci Resolve Studio, log into my Blackmagic Cloud, and boom, that computer had all the projects on it. And they definitely are adding some more things to the web version. If I log in here, we can now go into the storage area. They just recently added thumbnails, so now you can actually scrub the footage. Before, it was literally just the file names, and it was like impossible to tell. But now you can actually go in and, again, let's say you forgot a hard drive at home, but you knew the footage was uploaded to Blackmagic Cloud. You could log into any computer, be like, oh, I really need this clip. And whether it's a proxy or an original that you have uploaded, you can download that file straight from the web and basically have re-access to your footage. This potentially could save you so much headache. But I think they really built it up last year, and Blackmagic Cloud's just going to get even stronger this year. So now you have the Cloud Store product line. The pod essentially just allows you to bring any external hard drive of your own and plug it into this, and now you get the software benefits of the other Cloud Store projects, but with your own external drives, which can be cool. So you get that for $400. The Cloud Store Mini, I have the 8 terabyte version, but this past year they announced the 16 terabyte variant, as well as they have this larger version, which I believe you can get in a 20 terabyte, 80 terabyte, or a 320 terabyte version, which we don't even have a price point on. It's just build to order. And then there's also the Cloud Dock 2 and 4. These are great little NAS devices. You are kind of paying for a premium to get that Blackmagic kind of walled garden experience. I think they're very much like Apple in that sense. And keep in mind, these are all SSD drives in here. I believe they're all M.2. It's not like they're slow hard disks or anything, but still $1,600 for 8 terabytes. Nowadays, I was just looking at like Western Digital Black NVMEs. You can get 8 terabytes for $650. I've asked them so many times about user upgradability, and even directly from Blackmagic, I've gotten kind of mixed signal responses where technically it is pretty easy to, unscrew the side or top or whatever, open it up. They are just pretty standard M.2, nothing soldered. So they're like, you can do it. It's probably going to void your warranty. They don't know if the software would work the same depending on what brand drive you did. I don't know. I may test it out at some point because 8 terabyte on my mini is getting pretty low there. So it could be a fun video or experiment. What do you guys think? Maybe I should do that. But it does have some cool extras to it. It does have an HDMI port on the back that you can plug into a monitor and actually monitor the traffic, performance, everything that the Cloud Store has to offer. And then it also gives this utility, which I'll open up right here. So mine is connected right now via USB-C. So in my new office here, I haven't hardlined it into the network. So right now I'm not utilizing any of the network-based stuff. But as soon as I plug it into a router modem, I can, of course, sync everything to Blackmagic Cloud, and being able to just automatically download proxies or footage that is syncing from your cameras. By the time you get to your computer, the footage will already be in a folder the same way it is syncing throughout your different projects, which is pretty cool. And you can also tie it to Dropbox, Google Drive. I like it because it's very simple to set up and manage, but still gives you added convenience because, again, it's all part of their ecosystem. Yeah, here we go. Here's the new Max. This one, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, the new Cloud Store Max with 24 terabytes or 48 terabytes. Again, pretty pricey. They are also RAID 0, so these are not RAID systems to give you redundancy on your footage. They are meant for performance and just pure like speed, so you'd still need some sort of backup solution. It's not like a RAID 5. But yeah, love to hear what you guys think about the store products. All right, finally, let's get into cameras. I'm going to start off with the least expensive and work our way up to that good old Immersive and 17K camera that you can now pre-order. So starting off with the free option, the Blackmagic camera app for iOS and Android. They made huge strides last year and huge updates. Most significantly, the two that come to mind are the remote functionality, being able to have multiple iOS devices. You could have like an iPad with multiple cameras kind of remoting in, but control the iPhones that are being used as slave cameras essentially, and bringing that feature to multiple iOS devices. Essentially beta tested it last month. They came out with the ability to remote monitor your PYXIS, which I'm sure will roll out to more Blackmagic cameras, but the latency is kind of rough, and A couple other things are a little buggy on it. I made a whole dedicated video you can watch on it. But I think having these Blackmagic camera apps is genius for a couple reasons. One, it's a free way to get people into the Blackmagic ecosystem and to thinking about it. A lot of people have iPhones, a lot of people have Android phones. And so you have this amazing free camera app that has the average consumer going like, wow, I can get professional looking footage. And when they go to be like, I want to have a dedicated, kind of move up to a real cinema camera, now they're going to automatically start looking at the Pocket Line or the PYXIS or something like that because they're already comfortable with the menu systems. They've designed the app to function very similar to how their cinema cameras function. So that's great for the consumer end and very smart business strategy. But I also think it's great from a development standpoint. That remote feature really kind of unlocked that thinking in me that like, wow, they're testing out some of these awesome, really kind of maybe either niche, difficult features to just implement and throw out to a bunch of cinema cameras. It's like, hey, let's put this in our free app where if it's buggy, if it kind of breaks, it's kind of low stakes. It can be annoying for us users, but it's very different for them to roll out a feature to a bunch of iPhones that everyone's just playing around with versus, hey, let's roll out this software update that like breaks our, Ursa 12Ks or something. So seeing the remote feature start in the iOS devices, then go to the PYXIS, and I'm sure roll out to other cameras coming soon, I think is how they're going to do a lot of things. So I'm really excited to see where the Blackmagic camera app goes this year. But moving on up to the Pocket line. So we have the Pocket 4K, the 6K G2, the 6K Pro, the Cinema 6K, and accessories. Pocket 4K, if you are looking for the best cinema camera under $1,000, that's it, period. Nothing better. 12-bit B-RAW out of it. Yeah, it's a micro four thirds, but just the image that you get out of it still is incredible to this day, no matter how many years old it is. 6K G2 versus the 6K Pro and the Cinema Camera 6K. My opinion is if you are going for any of these three, I like the 6K Pro because you get internal NDs. That is one of the biggest selling points to that camera. And it makes me a little confused as to why some of these other options exist. Like the 6K G2, I get it. It's a sub $2,000 cinema camera, and there are some minor differences with it. Obviously, the Cinema Camera 6K is essentially the PYXIS in the pocket body, or the PYXIS is the Cinema Camera 6K in a different body. But that's a huge difference. On the Cinema Camera 6K, just like the PYXIS, it's B-RAW only, so you lose out on ProRes. It's full frame, so it does gain that over the 6K Pro. But again, no internal NDs. Your 120 FPS slow-mo goes down to 1080 instead of 2K. I don't know. I mean, the 6K Pro does record to SD and CFast, and CFast is kind of on its way out now, so it does have some cons to it, I guess. But my head's blocking it. My 6K Pro is still my B-roll camera, and that thing's been a workhorse the past, 3-4 years now. So it's kind of a toss-up, but I don't know. Maybe it's a hot take, but of those three, I would rather have a Super 35 sensor and have the convenience of internal NDs, because a camera like this is kind of annoying to rig out, especially now that the PYXIS exists. A lot of people ask me about these two main accessories for the Pocket line, the battery grip and the EVF. I will say I have both of them. The battery grip, I tried off and on. It definitely functions the way it does. It allows you to have 3 batteries internally, but it does make it extra big, extra bulky in a kind of weird way. And also the third battery is in the camera. And so you have to take off the whole assembly. And if you rig it up with a cage with the battery grip, it's really obnoxious to take it out. The EVF, I do enjoy. I think I'm one of maybe the few people, I heard a lot of people don't really use the EVF or don't like it. On this sort of camera, I was really comfortable kind of holding it up to my eye. So I like this one. If you use EVFs, it's a great one to get. The battery grip, personally, I would probably skip out on. All right, moving on up, we have the PYXIS. This has been a camera we all have been waiting years for. You guys know my thoughts on this. All I'll say is I'm sad that it doesn't have internal NDs. That's basically the only thing I can always think of as like, oh, I wish it had that. I wish it had higher frame rates as well. But again, it's the same exact thing as the Cinema Camera 6K, same sensor and everything inside of a new body. But at least that body is metal. It's squared off, so it's much better for rigging. I like the side monitor. And I'm very excited for the PYXIS monitor to eventually ship. For everyone asking me, the last insider tip that I got was they were estimating mid-December, and that was from some camera supply companies and internal stuff. Besides that, I got nothing. It could be when this video goes live in a couple hours, or it could be 2 more months from now. I have no idea why this thing's taking so long to ship. I think all of Blackmagic cameras bat way above their price point. So this $3,000 camera, I think, is playing on the same field as, like the FX6, FX9, the Komodo, cameras that are twice or 3 times its price. Now, an accessory that is shared amongst the new Ursa Cine and the PYXIS is the Ursa Cine EVF. I did get that recently as well. And again, kind of similar to the Pocket Line, if you use EVFs, it's a really nice one. It's incredibly simple. It plugs in the USB-C port. I have a love-hate relationship with the top handle and the attachments to it, because if you're only using the EVF or the PYXIS monitor, how it attaches is very clean, simple, and everything. If you're trying to rig anything else to that Ursa Cine top handle, there's only 2 3/8 top of the handle where your hand goes, so you can't really mount anything right there. And the front assembly blocks the 1/4-20s that are on top of the PYXIS, so you can't really get anything in there. So if you're trying to keep it minimalistic and simple, it's great. If you're trying to rig it up with that, I would look at like Condor Blue or other cage systems out there. All right, before we get to the new Ursa Cine 12K, they still sell their Ursa Mini Pro line. And so they have a 4.6K G2, the original 12K, and a slightly updated 12K with just an OLPF. So these are still great. And again, for their price points, they are excellent. I love every time I've reviewed the 12K. It's a great body. And as I tell most people, the least interesting thing about this camera to me is the fact that it shoots 12K. Even the new camera will be a similar kind of argument for it. The fact that it does 12K is great, but what that gives you is downsampling, which is going to be even better quality 4K, 6K, 8K, and the frame rates you can get at those resolutions is wild. So you can do 8K 120, you can do, I think, 4K or 6K like 240 without having to crop in. These ones are a Super 35 sensor, and they didn't have the greatest dynamic range. On this 12K, it was 14 stops. If you went to the 4.6K, you got 15, which was nice. And this actually gives you 2K at 300 FPS. They have internal NDs. Obviously, they're extremely riggable. These have been great workhorses for a lot of people for a number of years now. But of course, that brings us to the new Ursa Cine line. Is honestly like my new dream camera. And it comes at a price point that is so friendly for cameras in that realm. This is competing with that those Red Raptors, the ARRI Minis. I mean, this truly is the budget ARRI Mini LF. So obviously we get a couple different versions, right? So we're looking at this base model here, which is 15 grand. And I mean, as Grant said in the keynote, they put every feature that they could think of into this camera. It has so much resolution and power behind its recording ability that they had to custom make essentially their own media module. This does not take CFast cards or any card that they were all just too slow for a consistent recording experience. So they made these media modules, and it comes with one, 8 terabytes. What other camera nowadays comes with its own media, especially at this sort of storage capacity and speed? They create this crazy media dock so you can put in 3 media modules, great for DITs. Obviously, we're not talking the basic consumer content creator here. This is serious productions. And I heard, CVP channel made a video on this camera recently, and they said it well. It's It's basically Blackmagic going, hey, we want to be the A camera on productions. And obviously we could talk a long time as to all the standout features it has. But I just want to say, if you have the budget for this, I think it's a fantastic buy. Now, with the 12K, there is also the 17K. Now we've entered the pre-order kind of area here. And I learned a couple interesting things about this where I was like, oh, if I had 30 grand, I would just, look past the 12K and go straight for the 17K. It's got a 65mm sensor. This is them going after Christopher Nolan, going, we want to be an IMAX. And while that sounds great, and obviously if you want that sort of resolution or sensor size, you can have it. But there's really two things that I thought were decent enough to mention standouts. They both are based on the same body design. But if we look at the, the 12K large format sensor here, this obviously is upgraded from the original 12K Super 35 sensor. Now we're in a large format. But two big differences between this and the 17K is we have internal NDs here, just like the other Ursa Mini Pros. And then we also have, again, fantastic frame rates and resolutions. We get a 3.2 open gate. If you're trying to make some social media content out of this, some vertical or a lot of recomping room there with a 3.2 open gate, up to 80 frames. You can go 8K or 4K 241 at 224 FPS, which is just really cool. But if we go up to the 65mm sensor here, is one, we lose our built-in NDs. Again, cameras like this, odds are you're throwing on a huge matte box, you're controlling your filters at the front. But for nature, documentary people, having built-in NDs and being more run and gun, even with cameras of this status, could be something you miss out on. So again, I think it's worth mentioning. While you still get some pretty impressive frame rates, I mean, getting 17K at 60 FPS is really impressive. This sensor is significantly wider than taller, like the large format one. So you're naturally going to have different aspect ratios, but everything is sub 200 FPS. So 170 at 8K on a 17K sensor is like, I don't want to sound like I'm super complaining about that, but again, it's worth mentioning. All right, and finally, we have the Ursa Cine Immersive. So this is the camera that Blackmagic essentially partnered with Apple to create the first professional cinema camera made for creating Vision Pro content. It's the same exact price as the Ursa Cine 17K 65, but hey, this camera comes with 2 lenses, so you don't even have to buy lenses. It's built on the same body style as the new Ursa Cine line 17 and 12K. All we know is that we're not only getting a camera, but also a version of DaVinci Resolve that is going to make it very easy to create immersive content for the Vision Pro, which I think is a huge bottleneck for creating content on platforms like that. Right now, taking stereoscopic footage from cameras with dual lenses or 2 different cameras that you have lined up is just really cumbersome. You can't edit like you normally do on other, regular camera platforms. And so I'm really excited to see how easy it is, what the footage looks like, and hopefully some point this year I can get my hands on this camera if it comes out, do some tests, test it on the Vision Pro, and we can really start seeing some impressive feature-length films, or at least longer short films on Vision Pro and immersive content. So is this a instant buy? Obviously not for the average consumer, but I think if you're trying to, venture into what does the next level of filmmaking look like, what does the future of filmmaking, I think this is a very interesting bet to make. But as always, I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Was any of my opinions on this hot takes? Did I miss out on any Blackmagic products that you think are worth mentioning? Let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.